Now let us understand a few more concepts of plant growth which are involved for the growth of plant, according to which the plant undertakes its growth activities. So first of all, we are going to discuss the factors which affect the plant growth. That means the growth rate would be altered, either increased or decreased by all these factors which have been listed over here. And secondly, we would take into account the measurement of the plant growth. The plant growth, whether it is positive or it is negative, it can be measured in certain terms. So we are going to consider the measurement of that particular plant growth, how it takes place. So first of all, let's take into account the factors which affect the plant growth. One by one, we are going to see that the plant growth is dependent on the supply of nutrients, in which water and oxygen play an important role. Then the temperature is also an important factor, because we deal with physiological processes which are behind the growth of plants. So temperature would be very important because enzymatic activity is involved. So temperature is an important factor yet again. Then there is the force of gravity which plays an important role in growth of a plant. You might have heard of the term tropism, in which geotropism comes into your knowledge. That is, the force of gravity plays an important role in the growth of a plant. And the last one, which the factor that does not have much effect in the beginning when the plant has to germinate, but later on plays a crucial role in the growth of plant, is light, because photosynthesis is basically a light driven process. So let us see what each of these factors is going to have impact. We are going to deal with the impact, what impact each of these factors is going to have on the growth of plant. So first that we deal with is supply of nutrients. Like the plant has to show the protoplasmic growth, and you know, behind the protoplasmic growth, the nutrients are responsible for that growth. And the supply of nutrients, which include water, very important. Why water is important? Because it is responsible for the turgidity of the cells, and turgidity plays an important role in growth of plant cells. So water maintains the cells turgid. Moreover, whatever enzymatic activity takes place inside the plant cells, water is the medium. That means it acts as a universal solvent, you know that, and it is the medium in which all the enzymatic activities have to take place. So basically water is very much important for the protoplasmic growth, which would later on add to the growth activity of the plant, and hence an important factor for influencing the plant growth. Next one is availability of oxygen. You know, plant cells are living, so they need oxygen for their respiratory processes, and they later on in their stages are able to produce their own oxygen by the process of photosynthesis. So oxygen also plays an important role. And apart from these, we have a long list of micronutrients and macronutrients, which involves minerals and their ions, which play an important role in the plant growth. We do study about them in the next section, where we see that how the minerals are involved in the nutrition of plants. So those nutrients are very important for the growth of plants, because certain biological processes cannot be completed without the mineral nutrients, and these two are certainly important. Now next one is temperature. How important is temperature? We know that the increase in 1 degree Celsius temperature in our body can result to convulsions, fever, and decreased efficiency. So is in the case of plants as well, because plant cells are also enzymatically driven. So this temperature is very important for the enzymatic activity inside the plant cells, and the temperature optimum that we take for all the plant cells is 28 degrees Celsius to 30 degrees Celsius. That means during this temperature range, not during, that's the wrong word, that between this temperature range, the enzymes are able to perform their best functions, and the plant shows the maximum growth. That is the protoplasmic growth I'm talking about. If the temperature exceeds beyond 45 degrees Celsius, then we get to know that an increased temperature is affecting the growth of the plant, because at this temperature or beyond this temperature, the protoplasm shows coagulation, and when the coagulation occurs inside the protoplasm, growth is not possible. And the third one is force of gravity. Before I come to force of gravity, one thing that we have skipped is that low temperature also has a negative effect on the growth of the plants, because when the temperature would decline, there might occur a freezing, and the or temperature optimum for the enzymes that we have studied, that enzymes are very much temperature specific, that would again not be fulfilled and the activity would stop, and hence leading to the decline in growth of the plant. Then there is force of gravity, and we use the term geotropism. Geo word is used for earth and tropism is type of response to the stimulus. So when we talk about geotropism, we are talking about the force of gravity, that how it influences the growth of a plant. For understanding geotropism, consider it that supposedly this is the soil surface and this is the plant, that this is shoot, just for understanding purpose I'm telling you, and this is the root system. Below the soil, this is soil I have made, this is shoot system. Now the shoot system is going against the gravity, so it is negatively geotropic, and you always see the shoot grows opposite to the gravitational force, and in the case of root system, the gravitational force would be in same direction as the root grows. So we get to see force of gravity acting on the growth of the plant, and it is a very relevant factor for the growth to be observed. And last one is light. As I mentioned in the beginning, that this factor may or may not have enough influence in the beginning when the seed is germinating, but in the later on stages of the plant's growth, light plays a very important role, because it is the one thing which is responsible for driving the photosynthetic activity of the plant, and photosynthesis in result is required for the various nutrients which are responsible for the protoplasmic growth of the plant. So light is an important factor which affects the plant growth. Now that we are dealing with light, we come across a term known as etiolation. Why we say that light is an important factor in the plant growth in the later stages, that means when it has germinated, the later on stages of the plant need ample supply of light. The reason is that when light is absent, it leads to a condition known as etiolation. Now try to understand what is etiolation. We deal with this term over here only while understanding the factor light, how it influences the plant growth. Etiolation is elongation of the stem. Alright, when the plant grows in absence of light, like there is less light intensity, or there is the plant is growing inside the shade, what you are going to observe is that they have slender internodes, that means very thin internodes, and the stem is abnormally elongated. Supposedly I draw a normal plant like this, there is a node, I get leaves over here. Just for your understanding purpose, again I am making a very simple presentation of plant. This is the plant which is getting ample light, and you see over nodes I am drawing leaves. The nodes are of normal length, just for understanding purpose. In case of a plant which would, this is a rough representation of the pot. In the case of a plant which does not have ample supply of sunlight, that means there is less light present, the internodes would be abnormally long and the stem would be excessively slender. Such is the plant. Moreover, that stem is something whitish. So that is the reason that why we get to know that such development takes place in the absence of light. That is why light is very important. So etiolation is that condition in plants which occurs in the absence of light, resulting in the excessive elongation of the internodes, and the leaves are also not very much normal in their size. So plant shows an abnormal growth, and hence light is an important factor behind the plant growth. Then we come to the next topic, that is how the plant growth can be measured. You see, when we talk about plant growth, length is the best parameter in which we can understand whether the plant is growing or not and how much the plant is growing. And for that we have measuring equipment, you can see arc oxanometer. Because it has to take into account length, that would be in meters or centimeters, and there would be a scale which would be required. So this particular term which I have written over here, it's nothing to be scared of. You might not expect a big equipment over here. It would be a simple meter showing a reading of plant growth. Supposedly this is your plant and this is the tip of the plant. Now what we do is we have to understand how much growth has taken place in terms of length. So we tie a thread at the tip of this plant, and this thread is passed over a pulley. Okay, this is the pulley, and a weight is tied over here, small amount of weight. On this pulley we have a needle attached which is connected to a scale basically. Okay, this is the basic arcoxanometer's presentation. The concept behind an arcoxanometer, supposedly this is 10, this is 20, this is 30. Don't go according to the scale because I am just giving a rough representation over here. This needle is tied to the pulley. Now as the plant would grow, the thread would come down because the weight is carrying it down, and because a needle is connected to this, this would be attached something, just for presentation purpose I'm telling you, there would be a clamp over here which would be connecting the pulley, and this clamp would be connected to the scale as well. So this is your arcoxanometer basically. Now as the plant grows in height from here, it shows increase in length. This weight would be carried downward, and because a needle is attached to the pulley, this is the pulley I'm talking about, because a needle is attached to the pulley, it would show deflection towards this side, and we'll get to know how much length the plant has increased, how much the plant has shown growth in terms of length. Alright, so this is how the length is an important factor for measuring the plant growth. Second is the weight, where we consider both dry weight or fresh weight of the plant can be considered for measuring the increase in the growth. That means the weight, if it has increased, the dry weight or the fresh weight it has increased, that means the plant has shown growth, and it could be measured in terms of relative or absolute growth. Then in terms of lower plants, which are thalloid structures. You know what is a thallus? Thallus is that the plant may not have organ differentiation or tissue differentiation. In that case, we observe the increase in number of cells. There are certain plants which are unicellular or which are cellular colonies. In those plants we observe the growth in terms of increase in the number of cells, how many cells have increased in total. And last one is area or the volume, that can be taken into consideration for a particular organ or a plant or algae. Whichsoever plant is under consideration, you would measure the area at a given time, and in the next time the area would have shown a change. In that terms we can measure the growth. So these are the two topics which we had to discuss in terms of plant growth, how the different factors are affecting the plant growth, and how the plant growth which has taken place can be measured. Thank you.